Penticton, what if turning down this one project could cost our city millions and leave dozens on the streets? Right now, Penticton, BC is on the brink of a homeless housing showdown. In one corner, we have a 50-unit tiny home village for the homeless, fully funded by the province. In the other, we have worried residents and a council hesitating to give the green light. And ticking above it all is this December 2nd deadline before the funding might disappear. Guys, last month, our city council pumped the brakes on this proposal, deferring to a decision in response to enormous public outcry. But right now, we are in a high-stakes waiting game. Will Penticton seize this opportunity or send the money packing? Today, I'm going to break down everything: the plan's status, the funding, who is paying, and what strings are actually attached, which you may actually be very shocked by, where these homes would go, why some people are absolutely furious about it, and what alternatives, if any, exist. And also, I'm going to share my take. I'm not going to let you know what my take is until the end, but we're going to look at how similar projects fared in other Canadian cities, including just right up in Kelowna. So stick around, because whether you live in Penticton or anywhere else facing homelessness, this is about more than these 50 tiny homes. It's about the roadmap to actually solve homelessness and a warning what can happen if we do not solve it. Hey guys, my name is Jordan West, and if you have been following me on this YouTube channel, you will know that I am absolutely obsessed with Penticton. I love it. I think that it's the greatest city in the world, but it also needs some help. And with my experience in building businesses, being a paramedic over the years, building all sorts of incredible things, I'm really happy to be here and to help. This one's a really hard one, guys. I've seen a ton of stuff out there on social media right now with what people are thinking about this particular project. So here is the situation in a nutshell. So the BC government has offered Penticton a spot in its Heart and Hearth program. Heart and Hearth, great name, right? It's a provincial homelessness response that funds rapid build temporary housing. Basically, tiny home villages and communities struggling with encampments, which, newsflash, we have this big issue. I just want everyone to really realize where we're at right now. Do we all think that it's okay to complain constantly about the Fairview Encampment, and then when offered a potential solution, we just bat it away? That's kind of what we're doing right now. And I don't want to give away sort of what my stance on this is right now, but I just want to let everyone know, you cannot complain on this one side and then not take any sort of help. And so there's a lot of nuances to this, right? And you guys can go crazy in the comments right now if you already want to, but I'm going to go through and try and be incredibly fair with what is going on with this potential proposal, all of the reasons why, some empathy as well of some of the different things. But I just want to let you guys know that's the situation that we are sitting in right now. So it means up to 50 tiny homes with on-site 24/7 support services intended to transition people from living in tents to more permanent housing. And all of it would be paid for by the provincial government, not the city. And actually some of it will be paid for by the federal government as well. So back on November 4th, 2025, city staff brought this proposal to council, recommending that we issue a temporary use permit to allow the village on city land. Normally that approval should have been very straightforward. Staff had been working on this for months, but not communicating it for months, folks. That's the issue. That's the really big issue. Penticton City, I love you. I love you. I love you. You guys are awesome. I know you've invited me to come and hang out with you, and I think council is amazing. Everyone who I messaged there, for the most part, is amazing. Some people, one person just decided to stand me up for coffee. By the way, my schedule is not just here where I can just come and have coffee and then that's okay to cancel on me. I won't tell you who it was, but not pumped on that particular person, because they since have been weird or just completely unresponsive. But everybody else on council, you guys have been awesome. Love you all. But let me tell you, the communication from the city has not been good on this stuff. Right? This is a really big decision, and the city knew about it for a long time, so I understand why you would be mad. The announcement caught many locals by surprise, and there was backlash. Right now is facing heated opposition. Council voted 5-1 to delay the decision. They said, hold on, we need more info and public input. So they postponed the vote until December 2nd, 2025. And most likely you are watching this before that date. And I'm really hoping that I'm going to be able to get the facts across so you actually understand what we are voting on right now. Now, Mayor Julius Bloomfield supported moving forward immediately. He actually warned council that any delay puts the project in jeopardy. Why? Because the province offer is not open-ended. In fact, Housing Minister Christine Boyle made it clear if Penticton can't approve the permit in time, we we are going to have to explore reallocating the funds to another community. And they will. Just so you guys know, they will reallocate. In business, I do not like exploding offers. When somebody gives me an exploding offer when we're negotiating, I tell them, okay, no deal, right? This is not one of those cases. This is not one of those cases. This is a lot of money, and this is a potential solve for our city. She said that Penticton itself asked for this help, and many other cities want in, so they're not going to wait forever. That is a polite way of them saying, use it or lose it. Council knew this. Bloomfield said that they've been advised that the funding might not be available after December 2nd, so deferring the vote was a massive gamble, and right now this is a ticking clock. So since then, the city has scheduled a flurry of info sessions, and they've done a really good job on it now, right? And we can look back on it and say like, hey, that probably wasn't the best way. That's okay. Now we know like communication really matters, and there's a lot of ways that we can go about getting this stuff out there and getting people's opinion on these things. I've got a lot of ideas that I'll probably put in some other videos, but let's keep getting into this. They're doing an in-person open house and a virtual session between now and December 2nd. So whenever you're watching this, I'm going to try and get this video out like ASAP. I'm talking to my editor right now, like, let's get this thing out, just because I think it's that important. I put out just like a small 2-minute video that didn't really go through all of the like dirty details of like what is actually going on here and why do we need to vote this way or not. Not that you have a vote. It's really at the end of the day, it's council's vote, but it's understanding all of the different things. And I'm going to get into like some craziness of this a little bit in this video. So thanks for sticking around so far. Now, council even agreed to take a field trip to Kelowna to tour a similar tiny home site to see firsthand how it works. So everyone is scrambling to do 6 weeks of consultation in about 4 weeks, which again, in government time, that's a lot of time. Again, if I was running things, which I'm not, just want to put that very clear. I am not, I'm running all my own stuff right now. We would get things done very fast because I really believe that speed is what we need to be doing, right? We need to be doing this stuff fast. We can get consultation. There's not like, we don't need years of consultation on these things, right? Especially in the world of AI. Bottom line of the status. Decision day is December 2nd. If council votes yes, Penticton gets the 50 tiny homes funded by the province, likely up and running somewhere in spring of 2026. I've talked to a couple council members. They sort that it'll be somewhere in the April, sort of May region. If they vote no or delay again, there is a real chance that the province is just going to go somewhere else. And if I were the province, I would. I just want to let you guys know. I understand, people have their issues, but if I was the province, I'd be like, okay, we've got this funding. Our budgets are running out. We need to get this out and running. So let's talk about the money. Who is paying for this and how much? The project's price tag has not been publicly announced, but we know that the province and the federal government are going to cover 100% of it. Construction of the tiny homes, the modular community buildings, the operating costs, that's staff, utilities, food, for at least 3 years. All of that is on the province's dime, and they already have those funds allocated. So if you are worried that we are paying for it as a community, we are not. You know what we're paying for right now? The lack of people that want to come to our city when they drive through and they see the Fairview Encampment. That's what we're paying for right now as a city. We are paying for the fact that people come in and think to themselves, like the people this year that we're talking about not going down and floating the canal because the Fairview Encampment was right there was a large amount of people. I just want to let you guys know, like this is really hurting us as tourism. Like we need to get rid of the Fairview Encampment, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit here as well. This will be a little bit longer than normal. You could tell I'm a little fired up. I actually, by the way, I've already entirely recorded this video and then realized that I was muted. This nice mic of mine was muted, and that was nice. That was a good reaction. Anyway, let's get back into it. Where's BC getting these funds? Number one, it's from the Belonging in BC Homelessness Action Plan. Earlier this year, the BC government put roughly $1.5 billion towards homelessness initiatives. Part of that is something called the Homelessness Encampment Action Response Team. You need to know about it, and it's called HEART. And the Temporary Housing Hearth Program. Yes, Heart and Hearth. They set aside about $228 million over 3 years to help with cities like these. Now, federally, the question often comes up, is Ottawa pitching in? Indirectly, yes, it sounds like about $40 million for BC specifically. So conditions here is one of the important things. When someone hands you a check, sometimes there's strings, and in this case, there are strings. What does BC expect in return for funding Penticton's tiny homes? First is speed. Like I said before, speed. I am a speed guy. I know sometimes I talk too fast and I get comments like, Jordan, you talk too fast. It's like, okay, put it to 0.8. That's fine. Minister Boyle emphasized that the city needs to expedite approvals and get things moving fast. The money is available now, but not forever. Secondly, the project must follow the Heart and Hearth model, which includes it being a wet facility with harm reduction. That means that residents aren't required to be sober, and the site will have an overdose prevention room for residents only, like a small supervised consumption space. Do I look like I'm pumped about that? No, I'm not pumped about that. Do we have a choice? No, we don't. Right? One of the things I'm really good at is understanding what we have control over and what we don't. It being a wet facility is not something that we have control over. That sucks. I understand that sucks, and it's not something we can do anything about on day one. But if we don't accept the money, remember, that is a one-way door, right? Accepting the money, though, is a two-way door. And one of the things I talk about business all the time is this, it's a Jeff Bezos-ism, right, from Amazon. And whether you like Amazon or not, Jeff Bezos was and is brilliant and is a brilliant CEO and businessman. One of the concepts that he has is called a two-way door. And so I think about this with decisions all the time. If it is a door that you can walk through and then walk back fairly easily, I walk through the door. Penticton, we need to walk through the door. I'm not even close to being done yet, but like we need to walk through the door because it's a two-way door. I will tell you, not accepting the funding, that's a one-way door. That is a one-way door. You don't accept that funding, and I will tell you that the province is not going to be coming to us for the next thing. When we ask the province for something, they will not be happy with us. I just know how this works, whether you like it or not. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that this is it. Here's another condition, the temporary use permit itself. The city typically grants TUP, temporary use permit, for up to 3 years, and it can be renewed once. So that's Penticton, just so you guys understand. The province is basically leasing the land short term. There's an understanding that after, say, 3 to 5 years, this whole tiny home village could be dismantled, hence temporary, unless other arrangements are made. City staff even said that they'd include an out clause in the land license. If the operator doesn't run the site properly, the city can revoke permission. Two-way door, everyone. Two-way door. Just remember that, right? BC Housing has also promised to develop a community safety plan with local police, fire, bylaw, and nonprofit operators to mitigate the impacts. So, to sum up the funding, we potentially have millions of provincial dollars at the table that we probably aren't going to get. I'm guessing around the $10 million mark. If I could kind of put my... It's obviously like a big sort of like thing. Yeah, it's about $10 million. It's all part of BC's big homelessness plan, bolstered by some federal support. Boom. Let's talk about the proposed site and design. Let's visualize this. The tiny home community would sit on a city-owned property at 616 Okanagan Avenue East and 2088 Dartmouth Drive. If you're not from Penticton, it's in the industrial zone. It's kind of at the base of Wiltsea and that sort of area there, which again is a very nice area. It's basically a gravel field with a fence around it. Right now, it's an off-leash dog park. It's not particularly close to residential areas, which is really nice, but the nearest homes are in the Wiltsea area, about 1.5 kilometers up the hill. It is actually quite a little trek to get up there. But there are some businesses right next door, and we're going to talk about that. They're the ones that reacted incredibly strongly, and I don't blame them. I just want everyone to know I don't blame them, of course. Absolutely. The plan is to put 50 single-person tiny homes on the site. So picture small prefab cabins, big enough for one bed, a mini fridge, a desk, some storage. These units would be winterized, so heat and AC. They're insulated modular structures, not RVs or sheds. BC Housing has done similar units in Vancouver and Kelowna, and I'm super excited to tell you about what Kelowna did with them, because I think you guys are going to be a little bit shocked when we actually get to that section. Security and layout. The whole site will be fenced and gated with controlled entry. They plan on having a screening fence to block the line of sight and landscaping around it so it doesn't look like a jail, but it still provides a buffer. Now, in Abbotsford, they have built multiple of these kinds of units. And let me tell you, for the most part, you actually don't really even realize that they are there. They actually keep them incredibly clean. Now, there are some that are not nice. When I was a paramedic in Surrey, oh my gosh, it was just terrible, some of the units. That is not what we're proposing here, or not what they're proposing. I shouldn't say we. I'm just a concerned citizen, everyone. The city staff Blake Lavin described it well. The project is not a shelter. It's meant for people who have been living in our shelters or on the street long terms and need the next step. It's transitional housing. Then you ask, where are they transitioning to? That is for another video. This is the bridge between shelter and a permanent home. So residents would sign a program agreement and pay a modest rent. Sometimes it's like $375 a month. It's just like a small amount. They'll have to engage in programs, meaning that by living there, you agree to work on your issues, whether it's addiction recovery, mental health treatment, job skills, or all of the above. If somebody refuses all help or causes serious problems, they can be evicted from the program. It's not to jail. There are rules to follow. Staff made it clear that this is about moving people forward in a structured way, not just about a free hangout and handout. The goal is to unclog the bottleneck, and we have a massive bottleneck right now. Does anyone else feel that right now? Does anyone else feel the like the tension around all of this stuff going on right now? I really feel it in Penticton. Penticton's amazing, by the way, guys. I love it. I love you guys out there. It's a really cool city, but we've got some problems, and they're really out there. Really out there. I have to say, I walk around the city a lot. Again, I'm going a little off script here, but I walk around the city a lot, and if I was not 6'4" and fairly well built, I'd be terrified. There's a lot of scary looking people out there and a lot of people that are on some kind of drug. And like, I wouldn't want my kids just walking around in downtown. I'm going to be honest with you guys. We need to solve this. Like, this is why I'm doing stuff like this, because we need to solve this as a society. We need to figure out what this looks like to actually solve it. Now, one more design point, and this is a big deal to a lot of people. Because of the Hearth program guidelines, it includes a small overdose prevention site. It sounds scary to some, but what it basically means is a room or a trailer where residents who already have substance dependencies can use under supervision. I've been to many of these when I was a paramedic in Surrey. I've been to a lot of overdoses that have happened in there. They're not as scary as they sound. This is a two-way door, guys. We can take the money. Now, let me tell you about what the community has said. It landed like a bombshell. It was publicly announced in late October, just days before the November 4th council meeting, and people were furious, absolutely furious. A local citizens group quickly formed and launched an online petition on change.org. It had over 1,200 signatures. It's probably more by now. That is significant in a city of 37,000 people. These folks even held an impromptu protest at the dog park, signs, waving down cars, basically saying, we want transparency and input. Now, they all declined media interviews, so I'm not exactly sure why. If I were them, I would have talked to the media. I think that's the best way to get this out there. That's why I do this, by the way. Media is, you're able to get a message out to a lot of people. The other major concerns fell into this: safety and crime. The industrial area already has issues when it comes to that. What are we going to do? Now, if I were running things at the city, which I am not, and I do not want to anytime soon, if I were, what I would do is I would actually guarantee anything that happens in that area. If there is any sort of crime, the city should be on the hook for that. If the city is going to put people into a certain area, the city can go ahead and have some skin in the game and just say, hey, look, if there's break-ins, if there's anything like that, we're going to take care of it, right? Number two, I would have RCMP heavily in that area. I'm just making sure, right? So that people feel safe. Number two is this wet facility aspect, right? This is a big problem. People don't understand what a wet facility looks like. It sounds terrible. We should require sobriety is what they say, right? There is a moral element to this, right? I don't want my tax dollars being used for druggies, is what some people say. Don't quote me on that one. Somebody will clip that. You can if you want. I don't really care. To be totally honest, I'm far beyond caring if somebody clips something like that. If somebody truly wants help, they should be clean, is what some people have been saying. Unfortunately, it does not work like that. Yeah. Property values and image. This is another really, really big issue that people are having. Some business owners worry about having a homeless camp officially set up in the industrial park and that it could hurt their property values. I get it. I don't know what to say about that. And location fairness. People in the Wiltsea residential area, which is a really nice area. My parents actually live up there. I love Wiltsea. It's really beautiful up there. They're really vocal saying well, is this going to hurt our property values? I don't know. I hope not. But where else do we put it, right? I think that's the next really big thing here, right? We have a polarized community. It's fear versus hope. It's NIMBY versus empathy. But it's so much bigger than that. Right? It's not just that. Interesting, one of our local MLAs, she weighed in with a cautious stance saying she wants more details. Can I just say to the politicians out there, and I know some of you guys are watching this, probably, I don't know, the mayor and council will probably watch this, you can have a stance on things, I think that's what people want out of politicians and people in authority. You can have a stance on this stuff. Really actually appreciate how Mayor Bloomfield has said, we just take it. We need to take it. So why this site? This is going to be the last thing I do before I give my take, by the way. Let's talk about the alternatives, right? The key question is, why put 50 tiny homes in the industrial area near some businesses? Number one, the city looked at 60 different locations. You think they just picked this one out of the top of their hat? No, they were looking at tons of different locations, right? There's the Penticton Indian Band lands. They looked at that. They looked at the provincial lands and crown lands. There's tons of land that they looked in there. They looked at private land. They looked at 31 different city properties and systematically ruled every single one of them out. Most of them were too small, already committed to other uses, or right in residential areas. That is the problem, right? I don't know. There's just there's tons of different potential sites here. There's one more radical idea here, is split it into two different smaller sites. So instead of a 50 unit village, then we did two different size ones. The problem is there's staffing that needs to take place all together. This is not a permanent solution, but I will tell you, it is better than anything that we're doing right now. In essence, right now, city staff are saying Dartmouth Drive is not perfect, but no site is. It has appropriate zoning. It is not in the middle of a residential suburb, and it's fairly close to services, which is nice, right? And it's not going to derail any long-term housing projects, which is also another big thing. So Mayor Bloomfield did a really great job here. He said there's no perfect location for a facility like this in a small city like Penticton. If you put it by the airport, people are going to complain. And If you put it into a different neighborhood, put it by a school, obviously not good. Downtown, businesses revolt. Way out of town, then it fails because people can't access it. No one's going to use it. The industrial area was the compromise location. First, let's talk about some case studies. So Kelowna. We all know Kelowna, our neighbor to the north. They've actually done some really good stuff. So they were one of the first to pilot these tiny home clusters under the same provincial program. In 2022 and 2023, they opened 3 different sites. Step at 759 Crowley, Balsam Place, that was on Appaloosa Road, if I get that right, for you locals out there. And another site at Duggan Park, if I recall correctly, it's somewhere in there. So by late 2025, they had 180 people housed in these across Kelowna. The results, reports indicate a major reduction in the street homelessness population, and the large encampment that was in Kelowna's downtown park was resolved. Global News actually did a story marking 1 year of Kelowna's first tiny home site, and it touted it as successful, with tons of residents having transitioned into more permanent situations or reunited with families. I've done a ton of research on this lately, on this particular topic, and here's the one crazy thing. Though there is one solve to homelessness. Anyone have any ideas? Throw them down in the comments. Homes. I understand it. We don't want to say like, hey, your lifestyle is okay. Hey, we like all the things that you've done, but we need to get people. I mean, if anyone's done any sort of like psychological research and thought about this stuff, it is the first thing that we need is just to get people into homes, right? The key to Kelowna's success was partnership and community buy-in. Right now, we don't have that. And the problem is communication. The problem is we do not have a city that is communicating to the level that it needs to communicate at. You know, right now, guys, like I've taken an hour out of my day to film this video. I have video editors, luckily, at, the companies that I run, so they're able to do this stuff for me. The city is not doing this kind of stuff that it needs to do. Guys, I love what you're doing. Right? I think you guys are doing an incredible job, but you need to communicate better. You're doing incredible things as a city, but you need to communicate better. All right, what do I think? Well, I've been covering civic issues here for a little while. I love it. Again, I love it. And I don't shy away from calling it like I see it. So here it is. Penticton needs to take this deal, but we also have to take charge of it, right? This is, again, a two-way door. We can create a two-way door type of opportunity here. We have an opportunity to get 50 people off the streets. We have an opportunity to close down the Fairview Encampment. If we do this, we must close down the Fairview Encampment. There is no, we need to say, no, this is available. This encampment is done. We're not going to allow this anymore, but it can't be both. We cannot do both. If we do both, that is a massive failure. It is a failure on the part of leadership. Look, I get the concerns, right? Locals are right to demand transparency and say that part was mishandled. The wet facility piece makes people uneasy. I empathize because nobody wants to feel like their community is a testing ground, but harm reduction isn't some wild experiment. It is standard healthcare now, and it's working. We see what's happening in Kelowna. It's working. So here is what I propose. Number 1 is approve the project on December 2nd, but attach clear conditions in the council resolution requiring that community safety measures are implemented. Fencing, security, cameras, patrols, which are all already planned, and that the operator works closely with RCMP and bylaw from day 1. This cannot be can't swear in here, but you know the kind of show I'm talking about. We need to insist on quarterly reviews. Council should get regular reports on how the site is operating, stats on police calls, incidents, how many residents are engaging in treatment, total transparency. We need to demand a transition plan for after 3 years. What are we going to do with this place? What is the next step? Now, guys, go check out my video on my homelessness plan that I have for Penticton. I think that it's pretty compelling. I think about 10,000 of you guys have already watched it, which is great. I highly recommend going and checking that one out. We'll link it somewhere around here. I'll get my editor to do that. So we'll make sure to link that. We need to have a community advisory committee. We need to form a committee of local residents, businesses, and a couple of tiny home residents, city staff, RCMP, to meet monthly once it opens and make sure that this is working. We need to enforce good behavior. We need to make sure that the operator has a clear code of conduct for residents. This is a really, really important thing. If we do this, we can address the what if it goes sideways fear. So yes, this is really difficult. I empathize with everyone in that area. The business owners in that area. I was just walking in that area the other day. I had to pick something up and it wasn't quite ready, and I was walking in that area. I empathize with you. But I don't think we have an option right now. I don't think that there is a better option right now. And I get to say that because I'm not, my job's not on the hook, right? Like it is with council, right? I just get to call it like I see it and what is out there. And that's what I recommend. So again, that's just coming from one concerned Penticton resident to the rest of you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Go check out my homelessness solve video because I think it's a very, very compelling idea, and there's some compelling ideas in there. Thanks everyone for watching, and let's see what happens on December 2nd.